Okay, hi everybody. Today, Saturday afternoon, August 20th, and we're in what we call the North Slope Chardonnay. This is a vine that was originally planted in 1972. It's on its own roots, and we're looking at Veraison, and the Chardonnay is through Veraison. The berries have gotten big, they're plump, they're soft, they're still way too tart to eat. Oh, yikes. Really, barely, it's not edible. One of the more interesting things about Chardonnay, we'll just take a little viticulture class here. This is a Chardonnay leaf. It's in kind of a classic maple leaf shape. 5 veins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the characteristic that defines this varietal is that it's what's called naked to the basal vein. There's no leaf tissue here. And only Chardonnay in white grapes and only Cabernet Sauvignon in red grapes have that characteristic, which is called naked to the basal vein. Now we'll go visit a couple other vineyard blocks and show you what's going on with Veraison in those other blocks today. So here's Chardonnay. It's a pretty good crop for Chardonnay. And again, this is an old vine. We're replanting this block vine by vine. So there are young vines here and old vines. These, again, were planted in 72, and they're on their own roots, but most of the vineyard is dying. And these will get torn out in about 2 years and replanted. Okay, off to the next block. Okay, here's the second block for Saturday, August 20th. We were just in the Chardonnay, and Veraison had gone completely through with Chardonnay. Here's Cabernet Sauvignon. This block we called Old Cook's Flat Cabernet. It too is on its own roots. This is completely dry farm, never had water to it. And here you can see Veraison is partly through it. This is on the afternoon side, is a little bit further along than the stuff on the morning side. But you get a good idea. The clusters are turning from green to red-black. I'd say this is about 40%, 30% through Veraison, because these berries have to continue to turn black. They're just in that kind of soft pink stage. And then I mentioned to you that Chardonnay had a viticultural characteristic of being naked to the basal vein. Well, here's the Cabernet Sauvignon, much more deeply lobed, little tomentum, which is little fuzziness on the backside. That's called tomentum, peach fuzz, if you would, on a teenage boy. And again, here you are, naked to the basal vein. Now, not every leaf is that way. Let's see if I can find one. Here's a young leaf, and you can see that there's leaf tissue on the basal veins here, but on the mature leaf, you'll get, it's called naked to the basal vein. And with dry farmed, you'll find more of these per vine. And in irrigated vineyards, you'll find one. All you have to do is find one leaf on the Cabernet vine, and you know it's Cabernet. Very simple deal, fun. And then take a look at the growing tips here. If you just back up here, here we are. Dry farmed, August 20th, and look at the growing shoots, the growing tips. There's so much moisture in the ground this year. The vines are just doing wonderful. Now, this block is slowly being eaten up with phylloxera. It was planted in 72, also on its own roots, but it's got a year or 2 or 3 more in its life. But boy, look at that growth pattern. Okay, off to the next block. Okay, so here's our third block. Again, Saturday, August 20th. This is what we call New Cook's Flat Cabernet Sauvignon. This was planted in 2000. It's cordon. The other block was, this is a bilateral cordon. The other one is cane prune. And if you walk down here, and if you look at the vineyard, at the grapes, almost, there's just 1 or 2 berries in here. There's whole clusters with little to, we have 1 berry there. 1 berry here, coming on down here, 1 or 2 berries per cluster. Well, I guess most everything's got 1 berry. Some have none. But anyway, so it's a 3, 4, 5 days behind the old Cook's Flat Cabernet. Here you look over on the morning side. That was the afternoon side, and there's fewer. And this is a pretty classic Cabernet Sauvignon cluster. Fairly small, loose. That's a shot berry. It'll never grow to anything. You know, again, not great big clusters. They'll plump up a little bit. Up here we'll see a little bit more. Certainly not like the Chardonnay. Okay, now off to the next block. Okay, now this is the Cabernet Franc Blanc. We have two Cabernet Franc blocks. This is the old one planted in 97, 96, somewhere right in there, forgotten at the moment. It's on a 10 by 6 spacing, bilateral cordon, and here's Cabernet Franc. Not a single red berry anywhere to be seen. Nothing, nowhere, no how. These things are still rock solid. I would say we are at least a week to 10 days. Here's a pretty good case of shot berries. If you look right here, see all those shot berries. More shot berries. But still, I think that here's pretty good. Cabernet Franc tends to set a pretty good crop. And we may have to go through here and, of course, this is the end of it, or right on the shoulder. But we may go through and do a little crop thinning. So anyway, here's Cabernet Franc, not a red berry to be seen. Off to Riesling. Okay, here's our last block. This is the Riesling. The berries are still, the clusters, Riesling berries are very small. These are still rock solid. There may be just a slight softening, so we're just beginning into Veraison, but not a particularly good crop. But, you know, we'll see. There's an old saying, big crops get bigger and little crops get littler. And the Chardonnay and Cab Franc look like they're pretty good crops, and the Riesling looks quite sparse, to say the least. So, there we have it. August 20th, Chardonnay through, Cabernet Franc not even starting, older dry farm Cabernet going into it, young Cabernet, 10-12-year-old Cabernet, hardly started, and Riesling just starting. This is clearly 2 to 3 weeks behind, if not more. And today, on August 20th, the high today was maybe 74, 75 degrees. Till next week, bye.